Okay, in today's lab, we're going to spot weld two pieces of sheet metal together. These are 1018 steel, a mild steel, and we're going to put the two coupons together, and with heat and pressure, we're going to spot weld them together. We're going to actually make one piece out of it. This is a Larkin's spot welder, and what'll happen here is I've got a foot pedal. I'll push that down, and we have two electrodes. The electrodes will come together. When I push the pedal down far enough, it'll energize. Heat and pressure will create enough heat to melt this, and the pressure together will fuse the two coupons together. Now the welder we're using today is an old Larkin's welder. It's a 220 volt welder, single phase. We have two electrodes. These electrodes will get very hot. When I push the pedal down and the electrodes come together and they energize, of course with my workpiece in there, they get very, very hot. So what we do is we have city water that we're going to run through this first electrode, back down to the second electrode, and then we're going to dump the water down the drain. We won't use a lot of water, just a couple seconds worth, so we're not wasting a whole lot of water. But we need to keep these cool. Now I'm going to take these two coupons and I'm going to hold them with my pliers because I don't want to put my fingers in here where it's hot. And I'll bring the electrodes together, and then I can remove the pliers, and when I go down further with the pedal, it'll energize. And you'll hear that. And you normally count to about 10, a slow count to 10, so you give it enough time for heat, and with the pedal being pressed down, we get pressure. That's about a 6, 7, 8, 9. You can see it's getting red. I'll go all the way down with the pedal, it shuts off. I'll hold it for a couple seconds. Then I'll pull my workpiece off using the pliers. This got to about 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit, so I want to be careful. Now I need to cool this. So I can go over here and just, you can maybe hear the heat. Now I can shut off the water. Now that our coupons are welded together, they're spot welded together, we'll have our welded nugget kind of in the center. It's off to the side a little bit on our piece. And what I need to do is I just want part of that welded nugget because we're going to examine that under a microscope next week. So what I do is I take my nugget like this, I cut it right down the center, and we'll see this saw in a minute. And then I'm going to shorten it up a little bit because when I press this together, I don't need a lot of material. I just want a little bit of our welded nugget showing. Now to cut our welded nugget off our sample here, we're going to use a Buehler saw. And this saw has an abrasive wheel, small thickness abrasive wheel. It's 1/16 of an inch thick. I will mount my part in the vise here and kind of line it up so when I saw this, and I tighten it up, this will hold it in place. If my part was a little longer, I could hold both sides of it, but I'm just taking a small section off of my workpiece here. Now I have to close the lid because this is a wet saw. When I turn it on, you'll see the cutting fluid. And there's the cutting fluid. A lot of cutting fluid. It keeps our blade cool, the part cool, and blows the chips out of the way. I'm going to advance this cutter real slow. It's only a 1/64 of an inch cutter, so I don't want to break it by going too fast. Okay, you just cut through. I wait until the wheel stops. If I open this now, you could get wet and throw cutting fluid on the floor or on you, so we'll shut it off. You have to use this prop rod to hold it open. Now I can get my workpiece out of here, and you can kind of see I didn't get close enough. I can make one more cut. I should be a little bit closer to that welded nugget, but I did cut the end of it. Got a nice cut there. I will make one more cut to get where we need it to be. Now that we've cut off our welded nugget right down the center, what we have to do is we have to sand this welded nugget, and then we'll polish it to a super smooth finish. We will etch it with some acid And eventually we're going to look at that welded nugget under a high-powered microscope. The way it is now, it's real thin and small, hard to hold. If I try to polish it here, it's going to wobble, or I won't be able to hold it good and square. We won't get a good result. So what we are going to have to do is mount this using one of the two mounting presses. And when we get done mounting it, it's going to look something like this here. It's just a Bakelite plastic that's our part is going to be in. Now to mount this, I can't set this up. If I try to set it up here, it's going to fall over as soon as I lower it down. So what I need to do, we've got these little adapters, and I'm going to put our part in like so, and I'll slide this all the way down so it holds it up. All this is doing, all these little clips are doing, is just holding it so it doesn't fall over. Now to mount our little coupon here, we're going to use a Lico or a Bueller press. And the way it works, we've got a piston or a ram, and I'll lower that down. We will fill it with Bakelite powder. We're going to put a cap on it, and then we'll set the timer and let it go. Okay, so I'm going to take my coupon, set it up on top of here. It won't fall over because of that clip. I will lower this down. And we've got this Bakelite powder. And what I'm going to do is take a scoop of Bakelite powder. Before I do that, I'll show you on our scoop. I've kind of put a line. That's about how much powder we want to use. So we take our powder. Always use the funnel when filling this. Right now my ram is all the way down, so I use the funnel. If I don't use the funnel, it'll get on the threads and we won't be able to put the lid on. Now this particular one, it has two ears, so I'm going to put it down and turn it, and those ears will lock it in place. So I just shove it down there, turn the quarter turn. Okay, make sure that the handle is in a vertical or upright position. Now I'm going to move the ram all the way up. The piston is pushing up against this. It has about 2,000 pounds of pressure. It's pushing on the part and the Bakelite. I've already preheated my heat source here, so we'll put the heat on our part here. Then we go to about 7 minutes on our timer. After the 7 minutes, that should be enough time to melt the Bakelite, and the pressure is going to form this nice round puck you'll see here in about 7 minutes. Okay, it's almost done. You should hear a ding pretty soon. And then what I'll do is I'll remove the heat source. There we are. Our 7-minute heat cycle is done. So I'm going to remove the heat source. And we have to cool this down. If I lower the ram right now, it's at a molten state, so it's going to really have a mess. So I'm going to take this heat sink, cool it off a little bit, and I'll put it on here. And we're going to do this 3 or 4 times. Each time leaving it on here for about 45 seconds. Okay, now we've put this heat sink on here for 4 cycles now. I can take the heat sink off. Now I have to lower the ram, because right now I still have my pressure on it. And if I try to take this off, it's going to blow it right out of the top. So what I have to do is lower the ram. That's neutral. Now the ram's going down, taking the pressure off my workpiece. I will turn this a quarter turn, and I'm just going to bump it up with the air. Bring it right out of here. And there's our Bakelite piece. This is still pretty hot, so what I'll do is I'll cool it off in the bucket of water. Okay, now we've finished pressing it. It's on this nice puck now, so we can hold it when we do our sanding. The things you have to be careful with, around the outside edge, there's a very sharp flashing of plastic. So we're going to take this sanding belt and we will knock the flashing off. Really simple. All we do is turn this on. Probably can't see it. I have to hold out with both hands. So I'm just knocking that flashing around the edge. So I'm putting it at about a 45-degree angle and rotating it. Now you can see, here's our workpiece, our welded coupon in there. And in next week's lab, we will show you how to polish that and etch it for microscope.